Okay. So shall we start?
Yes, just want to say Assalamu alaikum and greetings to everyone. And today is the final session. In fact, I should say the final day of Impart Workshop Series. And today's presentation is by Miss Tahira Adeel Zaman. And Miss Tahira has already introduced herself. And now she is going to start with her presentation. Over to you, Miss Tahira.
All right. Thank you so much, Sabina. So let's have a little. We just had a little input about what people might think this presentation is going to be all about. So can we move on to the next slide, please? So I'll be talking about business communication for aspiring teachers. People who have who are either in the field of teaching or who want to come into the field of teaching, any of those things. One thing that you have to keep in mind is that communication is the key. When you want to obviously build relationship, you want to build relationship not just with obviously your students, but with obviously your colleagues, the parents that are going to turn up, the administration, and if you want to find more opportunities, obviously other places, the correspondence, it's all related to communication. So when I got the opportunity that Sabina wanted me to talk about this, and I was discussing this particular topic with another colleague of mine, that a lot of teachers that we got to interview, we got to see during the demo, a lot of teachers that I met, obviously on social gatherings and everything, there were certain things that I felt like they need more help with, or the certain elements that maybe their career counselor or someone didn't exactly tell them, that these are the skills that they must have. For instance, CV hol gaya, how to handle an interview, how to deal with people, the queries, and all of those things. Plus, within the classroom setting or within the school setting or university setting or college setting, how to handle certain elements. So, this is my entire business communication course. I compressed it into these few slides, and we're going to discuss it as we move forward. Please do keep on asking your questions as and when you need further clarification. That's going to make my, it's going to make my job very easy. Can we move on to the next slide, please? All right. So this is briefly what we're going to be talking about. First of all, the importance of communication, and then the types of communication, business communication, the difference between resume and CV. This is so important. I can't even put, I can't put enough emphasis on this. And obviously, a LinkedIn profile. We'll talk about that as well. Handling interviews, once you go for interviews in different institutions, different places, or even if someone has different questions for you, how to handle those things. And one of my most favorite topic, tactfulness, how to be tact, how to be well, the word is politically correct, but tactfulness is very important when it comes to effective business communication and the 7 C's of communication that we are going to be talking about right at the end. We're just going to skim through it. I'm not going to go into the details of the 7 C's, but that's something that I would obviously leave the audience for further reading. And if they would like to, at some point would like to do their own research, they can do, they can read up on that. There are different kinds of 7 C's, and there's so many books, स्लाइड शेयर के ऊपर भी बहुत मटेरियल इसके ऊपर है. बट मैं इसकी विद एग्जांपल्स आपको जल्दी से चीजें बता दूंगी, सो यूल नो कि इसका बेसिक्स क्या है और ये कहाँ कब किस तरीके से इस्तेमाल होता है. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. राइट. आगे. Alright. So, for anyone, communication is a key. When we start communication topics with our students, we tell them, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. It's the selection of words, it's the tone, it's the way you have said certain things to certain people. एक बहुत कॉमन एग्जांपल है जो मैं लोगों को अक्सर देती हूँ कि आप किसी देसी शादी पे जाते हो या कोई ऐसी गैदरिंग पे जाते हो जहाँ पे कुछ ऐसे लोग होते हैं जो बहुत ज्यादा मिजाजी होते हैं. And if you don't say the salam in the right way, or if you don't invite them for food the right way, they get upset about that कि देखो उसको इस तरह बुलाया मुझे इस तरह बुलाया. तो ये भी कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स में आता है कि हाउ टू हैंडल पीपल हु are a bit mercurial, and they might not take things exactly the way they're supposed to be taking it. how when you're writing certain things, the punctuation is so important. The way you use a comma, the semicolon, where to put a question mark, where to break a sentence, how to paragraph things, how to structure your paragraph, वो written communication के लिए कितना important है. And if we just completely move away from communication, is a non-verbal communication. What you dress, what the colors that you wear, how you put on your makeup or the tie or the color of shirt that you want. ये नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन के एस्पेक्ट्स आते हैं. Non-verbal communication is something that is again in my classes, and when I teach presentations to my students and to people who are about to go for interviews, I tell them the non-verbal is basically 70% of the communication that you're about to hold, because it's not, again, coming back to, it's not what you say, it's how you say things, the way you have saying, the way tone that, जिस एंगर से आपने बोला है, जिस प्यार से आपने बोला है, वो सारी चीजें आपकी कम्युनिकेशन को उस तरीके से बनाती हैं. ऑब्वियसली टेलिंग अ स्टूडेंट टू बेटा प्लीज बैठ जाओ, टू बेटा प्लीज बैठ जाओ, टोन का फर्क आ जाता है, और उसके अंदर वो बच्चा जो है वो आपकी बात को या तो बुरा मानेगा या अच्छा समझेगा. ये नॉन वर्बल का एक एस्पेक्ट है. इट्स नॉट वर्बल, बट इट्स नॉन वर्बल, यूजिंग द राइट टोन विद द राइट पर्सन. तो यू नो हम जिस तरीके से लोगों से बात करते हैं उसके ऊपर उसका भी बहुत इफेक्ट आता है. जस्ट लास्ट वीक आई हैड अ क्लास विद these bunch of students, and I asked them कि when you're sitting at a chai dhaba, how do you call the waiter? So they had different culturally inappropriate things to say, and I was like, that's why you don't get the perfect treatment that what you expect. वो फिर तुम्हें वैसी ही चाय ला के फेंक के दे देते कि हाँ ये लो पी लो. But if you basically learn their name and if you call them nicely, you'll get a different service altogether. वो वही 5 स्टार वाली सर्विस हो जाएगी, obviously वो on the side of the road, but that makes so much difference, right? So communication जो है वो हर जगह हमारी इस्तेमाल हो रही होती है. It's not just one dimension. It's multi-dimensional. There are communications that you have with yourself, by the way. It's called intra-communication. वो जो आप अपनी gut feeling होती है, if you're facing a problem and you're thinking to yourself, I will talk to myself as well to weigh the pros and cons. वो भी communication हो रही है, वो मेरे अपने साथ हो रही है, पर हो तो रही है. So this thing, this little topic is so useful, that you need to know the key elements that is going to help you become more successful, because obviously is a written communication, that is your CV and your cover letter that goes to an organization when you want it to open doors for you. Then is your verbal communication, and your non-verbal communication helps the person to give you the job. तो इसलिए कम्युनिकेशन की डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट को समझना और उसको इस्तेमाल करना बहुत जरूरी है. ऑलराइट, कैन वी मूव ऑन प्लीज? ओके, so this is like a typical classroom, right? यहाँ पे एक टीचर है, and by the way, impressive using a वो अपनी कम्युनिकेशन को कलर. but यहाँ पे मैं, the reason I over here is, look at the way this teacher is standing and he's looking at the student. What do you think? Is it something you do? Is this how you take your classes? Is this how you want your students to be? Do you want them to be like बिल्कुल सीधे चुपचाप बैठे रहो? Exactly, Vajia, you're absolutely right. This is such a condescending way of a teacher to be standing, right? ये देख लो, पढ़ लो, वो वाला हिसाब लग रहा है. And yes, he looks pretty informal. He doesn't look very, you know. मगर just to coming back to it, if he is looking informal, what's wrong with it? Someone's raising their hand. I'm so sorry, I can't tell who that is.
Yes,
Tuba.
Tuba, what do you want to ask? Yes, Miss Tuba, your hand is raised. Please ask your question.
His body language, nothing wrong about being informal. Exactly.
Yes.
A little bit of informalness is okay. That's something that, because अब हम पूरी फॉर्मेलिटी पे नहीं आते, और अगर आप बहुत ज्यादा फॉर्मल होंगे तो प्लीज रिमेंबर, these are new age babies. They're not going to listen to you. They're literally not going to listen to you. If you're going to be very formal, if you're going to expect them to be if you want to tease them with an iron fist, बिजनेस कम्युनिकेशन के अंदर ये चीज बहुत एक वैल्यू देने वाली है, दैट यू हैव टू मेक द अदर पर्सन कंफर्टेबल इनफ टू आस्क यू क्वेश्चन और टू बी विलिंग टू लर्न. यस, देयर हैज टू बी अ फाइन लाइन बिटवीन बीइंग डिसिप्लिन्ड एंड बीइंग ओवरली फ्रेंडली. थोड़ा बहुत से टीचर्स को फ्रेंडली होना पड़ेगा. आई एम सो सॉरी, आई नो दिस इज समथिंग कंप्लीटली दैट यू नेवर probably dealt with, but in my 15 odd years, exactly. Dr. Adil, you're also pretty right. ये आपको समझ नहीं आ रहा, लेकिन I'm so sorry. The picture is a bit blurry. मगर जब मैंने original picture निकाली थी, the teacher had a very, he had a very condescending expression on his face as well. So that's something that we want to discourage, because when you're talking to your students or when you're talking to your colleague, it's not you can't just tell them, oh my god, I'm dealing with someone who's not of my same intellectual. So ये भी आपकी नॉन वर्बल चीजों के अंदर आता है, एंड इट unfolds in various ways. It's as teachers, our existence is also teaching them how you act, what you wear, uh, how you teach them, how you talk to them, how you talk to the other person, how you manage your emotions. That's what the kids learn at the same time. आपका इमोशन जो है, जैसे अगर आप गुस्से में आए हैं और एक बच्चे से गुस्से में बात कर रहे हैं और कंसिस्टेंटली आप सबसे गुस्से में बात कर रहे हैं, तो वो चीज भी वो बच्चा आपसे पिक करेगा, स्पेशली दोस टीचर्स हु आर टीचिंग younger kids. Yeah, so Marine, that's exactly what leaves an impression, right? वो थोड़ी सी वो फर्म थी मगर इनफॉर्मल थी. उनको वो लाइन रखना आती थी कि ओके, अब क्लास बदतमीज हो रही है, एंड शी न्यू एग्जैक्टली हाउ टू हैंडल देम. एंड हाँ, आप साइमा दानिश, I'm also reading the chat as at the same time. हाँ, अगर आप गुस्से में चीजें पढ़ाएंगे तो वो नहीं हो. Interactions with so many teachers during one of the trainings that I was conducting, and कुछ सब्जेक्ट्स की टीचर के साथ एक हमारा वो अटैच हो गया है ना, एक स्टिग्मा अटैच हो गया है, तो बच्चे उनके नहीं सुनते. एंड that teachers were asking me, how do I make these kids be interested in me or in what I'm trying to teach them. And I was like, relax, उनको उनके लेवल पे आके पढ़ाइए. Yeah, listening is one of the most important tool. I absolutely agree, Dr. Adi. अगर आप सुनेंगे नहीं तो आप जवाब किस तरह देंगे? We're going to come back to these things more detail. Veena, can we please move on? All right. So we already talked about it. Communication is spoken, written, heard. As Dr. Adil just rightly pointed out, listening is communication, not just hearing. There's a very there's a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is passive. अभी obviously मैं बैठी हूँ, I'm sitting by the window. I know you can't hear it. मेरे बाहर जो दरख्त लगे हुए हैं उसके पत्तियों की मुझे बहुत ज्यादा आवाज आ रही है. I can hear it, but obviously I'm not listening to it because it's a passive listening. It's behind, वो पीछे की चीज है. Active listening वो है जिसको मैं respond करेंगी. As right now I'm looking at Veena, she's smiling at whatever I'm saying, she's nodding her head, she's making me feel good, or the fact that okay, yeah, I have her attention, ये मेरी बात सुन रही है, ये मुझे react करेंगी. So listening is so important when it comes to communication, when it comes to interview, when it comes to feedback, when it comes to answering questions. If you're not listening with obviously understanding, there is no communication. Then it's a one way bias communication. जो हमारे सर में चल रहा होगा वो communication चल रही होगी. Pictures. Yeah, we everyone just wants to speak up or scream. I have students who want to just scream up. मैं आपकी बात का जवाब दे रही हूँ. So yeah, a good listener is a great speaker. You have to be good listeners. You have to be good listeners to give good feedback, to give good ideas, or to gain good ideas when you listen with obviously attention and understanding. Pictures, we use pictures to create a lot of awareness. We use pictures to convey our sense, our mood. जो हम लोग क्या अपनी पिक्चर्स, फेसबुक की पिक्चर्स होती हैं, इंस्टाग्राम की पिक्चर्स होती हैं. आजकल के बच्चों की जितनी भी कम्युनिकेशन है, दैट्स थ्रू पिक्चर्स और स्टोरीज. दैट इज विजुअल कम्युनिकेशन. Then we have the non-verbal communication, as I've already talked about. Abina, can we move on, please? It's the tone, it's the expression, it's the posture, it's what you wear, it's how you say these things. इधर थोड़ी सी मैंने एक स्लाइड के ऊपर ये चीज लगाई है कि 70% of all major communication is non-verbal. The tone, the level of your voice, your appearance, colors बहुत important role play करते हैं. One of the reasons when I was training teachers for a school, I basically told, so एक ही request की थी कि शूज वगैरह वो सब आपकी अपनी डिस्क्रिप्शन है, बट द कलर्स आर सो इम्पोर्टेंट. डोंट वेयर नियॉन कलर्स, डोंट वेयर कलर्स दैट विल दैट ऑफसेट योर पर्सनालिटी. गॉथिक बन के आप कभी भी क्लासरूम में मत जाइएगा. आई नो people like to have those darker shades, but at times छोटे बच्चों के लिए के साथ आपको वो हैप्पी कलर्स पहनने पड़ते हैं क्या, ताकि वो आपको ज्यादा खुश होके सुने. So Mohammed Shabazz, I just read your message. That's excellent. We do not listen to understand. We only listen to answer, or rather scream. तो पूरी बात सुन के ही आप जवाब दे सकते हो. And yes, bright, happy colors make not only you happy, but it also makes the other person happy. Um, yes, it's all about you. It's all about you. So जो colors आप खुद पहनते हैं उसका आपके ऊपर असर आता है, and then it has a happy. If your own mood is happy, your personality is happy, it immediately reflects on your students or the person who's sitting in front of you. Interview skills के लिए we always tell them, बेटा please wear pastel colors. जितने भी बच्चों को मैंने इंटरव्यूज में भेजा है मैं उनसे हमेशा कहती हूँ, आई नो ब्लैक इज ब्यूटीफुल, आई नो डार्क ब्लू इज ऑसम, मगर वेयर दोज हैप्पी कलर्स दैट लीव दैट मेक यू फील हैप्पी, और सामने वाला भी बहुत अच्छा खुश हो जाएगा इससे. सो या, कलर साइकोलॉजी थोड़ा सा अगर कभी कोई पढ़े, इट इज सो इंटरेस्टिंग. एड्स के अंदर कलर साइकोलॉजी यूज होती है, दैट अगेन इज नॉन वर्बल. सो बिजनेस, पर्सनल एंड एजुकेशनल सेटिंग के अंदर नॉन वर्बल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. आपके पोस्चर से बहुत कुछ कम्युनिकेट होता है. वो जो अभी पीछे पिक्चर दिखाई जिसमें वो टीचर टीबॉट पोज बना के खड़ा हुआ है, विद हिज हैंड ऑन हिज हिप एंड ही जस्ट लुकिंग डाउन इन अ condescending way. Yeah, that the to a child or to anyone who's standing in front of him, they're like, नहीं मैंने आपकी बात नहीं सुननी है. You won't have effective listeners if your posture is not matching what you intend to say. Purpose और posture दोनों जो है वो बहुत important role play करते हैं. ठीक है. Dina, can we please move on? I know I'm going a bit fast, so you can stop me at some point. All right. So the first step of business communication, क्योंकि मैं I really want people to have this idea कि ये business communication teachers के लिए कहाँ कहाँ यूज होती है. एक, before she joins a place, तो जिसमें आपका CV और cover letter की डिजाइन आ गई, how to prepare for the interview and then how to handle an interview. कि interview के अंदर we all know लोगों की utmost कोशिश होती है कि जो मार्केट रेट है आपको उससे कम ही लेके आए. So how to negotiate those things. And then once you're at the workplace, how to handle these problems and setting boundaries. As we said, being friendly but being stern. You have to be calm, composed, and handle situations, because again, uh, you can't lose your cool. You can obviously घर आके lose कर लें या रास्ते में lose कर लें, but during a particular situation, maintain your composure. Then dealing with students, parents, and bosses, and then understanding the culture of communication, because every institute has a different setting. Every institution has a different ideal. I'm quickly reading two messages over here. One of my teachers to used to say, "Do not move your hands a lot while voicing your opinion." Yes, ये gestures में आता है. Dr. Adeel, persuasive personality or charismatic personality to influence people at work. Yes, but I think charismatic personality is more important, because obviously, and charismatic is very easy to attain, by the way. All you have to do is be polite and be friendly and approachable. Approachable in the sense that you can't just walk around with an angry look on your face, but rather you have that gentle smile, or the fact that, when you look at people, you don't have that, uh, oh God, एक और सवाल मेरे से करने आ रहा है. And just a gentle greeting to people, right? आते जाते सलाम अलैकुम, आप कैसे हैं? That's all you have to do, right? उससे भी आपकी personality जो है वो बहुत approachable हो जाएगी. Yeah, being snob, never. And being humble, yes, I'm currently, by the way, just to give you an example, currently I have to deal with someone online, unse messages ke upar main baat kar rahi hu, and the response that she's giving me, the only thing that's coming to me is, oh my god, I'm dealing with a snob, I'm dealing with a snooty person, and I don't want to carry on with this communication. So yes, your personality is an important aspect of communication, जो obviously इन तीनों aspects को मिला के आप अपने सामने पेश करते हैं. Beena, can we please move on? Okay, I'm so sorry. This is not very visible. So, Sabina, at some point, if people would like to have this PPT, please do share it with them. So I have put forward a CV of a teacher, right? हम CV दो तरीकों से बनाते हैं. So these are two. If you can just see the design, that's exactly what I'm focusing on. Mohammed Shahbaz, you're absolutely right. Just keep a gentle smile on the face, but not don't smile all the time. Otherwise, people will be like, "Sab khair hai? Why is this person smiling without any reason?" Right? So when people come to you, that's when you can just, give a gentle smile and then start having a conversation. हमारी सीवी जो है जो accepted आजकल चल रही है in major places, not just here in Pakistan, but when if you want to apply abroad or anywhere else, ये दो accepted patterns हैं सीवी के. एक ये, but the one thing that you need to notice or pay attention to is कि एक आपका नाम और आपका title, what you do needs to really stand out. And then talk about your contact details. Contact details, may I always tell people it's best if you can just give your immediate email address and your cell phone number. Uh, Dr. Adil, with students who use these jargons, you can always ask them, Beta, I don't comprehend that. Uh, can we please make it a little clear for everyone? So, approaching them in such a way that, they feel also valued. Oh, अच्छा ठीक है, मुझे पढ़ाना है, मुझे समझाना है. तो वो बहुत खुश हो जाती हैं इन चीज़ों से. So, एक यहाँ पे मैं डेविड किलीन की सीवी के ऊपर हूँ अभी. यहाँ नीचे देखिएगा दो लाइनें उसने वर्क एक्सपीरियंस से ऊपर लिखी हैं. दैट्स व्हाट वी कॉल द करियर समरी. That is extremely important if you have about 3 or 4 years of experience. If you have certain experience, अपने career summary ये 2 या 3 लाइनों में, या बीना जैसे लोग और या मेरे जैसे लोग हमारी 4-5 लाइनों के अंदर आएगा, एक career summary देना बहुत जरूरी है. Because a lot of people don't have the entire energy to read the whole thing. Give a little brief. यहाँ पे जरा अपने keywords दीजिएगा कि आपकी teaching के main aspects क्या हैं. For example, I myself as a teacher, I'm an experiential learner, and that's how I like to teach. So I teach with hands-on experience. I teach with lots of example. I teach with lots of okay, जाओ जाके इसको खुद बनाओ फिर सीखो वाला हिसाब होता है. It's a very Finland and Swedish technique. We use that. Canva is an excellent tool to build an interactive and inviting resume. However, Marine, बहुत सारी organizations हैं वो आपकी CV black and white में print करती है. तो एक interactive CV या एक colorful CV बनाने का वहां पे कोई फायदा नहीं होगा. Right? That's the realistic point. और जब हम कलर्स अपनी सीवी में ऐड करते हैं और ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वुड नॉट लाइक टू इन्वेस्ट और एज आई हर्ड सर्टेन पीपल से वेस्ट अ कलर प्रिंटर ऑन अ सीवी, वहां पे आपकी ये वाली मेहनत जो है वो जाया जाएगी. सो मेक योर सीवीज एज सिंपल एज पॉसिबल. ऑनलाइन रेज्यूमे और या आप उनकी जो पीडीएफ वगैरह बना रहे हो तो यस दैट कैन वर्क, मगर ऑनलाइन रेज्यूमे से बेहतर है अब नया टूल आ गया लिंक्डइन का. So have a strong LinkedIn profile that you can attach as a link, and then people can go and visit it. Where you can, you've talked about your certificates, extra courses, जो कुछ है. So so LinkedIn की profile के अंदर आप invest कर लीजिए. और अपनी जो resume आप जो लोगों को भेजते हैं, that would be great if you just keep it as simple as possible. LinkedIn is exactly it's a new way to gain jobs. It's a new way, especially for the up and coming generation. That's how you get internship at the same time. So LinkedIn के ऊपर आपको थोड़ी बहुत इन्वेस्टमेंट करनी होगी, which is basically time. Um, स्क्रैप से अगर मैंने कभी किसी की लिंक्डइन बनाई है, so it takes around 6 hours. 6 घंटे लगते हैं क्योंकि हम स्टेप बाय स्टेप हर चीज के ऊपर जाते हैं. तो वो चीज काफी जरूरत होती है. एंड यस देयर आर सो मेनी रिक्रूटर्स एज डॉक्टर अदील इज पॉइंटिंग आउट. इतने रिक्रूटर्स ऑनलाइन बैठे हुए हैं कि आपको अगर आपकी सीवी उनके सर्च इंजन पे आ जाएगी, you will definitely get a hit. Um, Uruj, that's a very long workshop. I think Beena and I can plan that out at some other point in time. LinkedIn के लिए बहुत extra time चाहिए, and we need people to actually be using their systems at the same time. Yes, it is good for teachers. It is. I have example offers I do from institutions in other cities, but obviously मेरा इंटरेस्ट नहीं तो होता तो मैं obviously जवाब नहीं देती. But yes, for teachers, aspiring teachers, क्योंकि अब बहुत सारे स्कूल्स हैं और कॉलेजेस हैं और यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं जिनको अब नीड हो रही है, वो अपनी जॉब बाय द वे लिंक्डइन के ऊपर डालते हैं. सो अब यू कैन अप्लाई. सो कमिंग बैक टू द पिक्चर एट हैंड, करियर समरी के बाद व्हाट्स इंपॉर्टेंट इज योर जॉब एक्सपीरियंस. अपना जॉब एक्सपीरियंस प्रॉपरली लिखिएगा प्लीज. वो बहुत जरूरी है कि बहुत लंबा ना लिखें, मगर इतना लिखें कि आपने जो जो काम किए, जो मेजर काम किए हैं इन योर इंस्टीट्यूशंस, दैट इज देयर. इफ यू डन एनी प्रोजेक्ट्स प्लीज टू मेंशन इट, अदरवाइज आपका एक्सपीरियंस नीड्स टू कवर एवरीथिंग. देन यू टॉक अबाउट योर एजुकेशन, एंड देन अगर स्पेस बनती है तो फिर कुछ और लिखिएगा. अदरवाइज यू डोंट नीड टू ऐड योर स्किल्स, योर हॉबीज और योर सर्टिफिकेशन, क्योंकि आप जो वर्क एक्सपीरियंस अपने डिटेल में लिखेंगे वहां पे फिर आपका एक पेज कवर हो जाएगा. yes, the key to the game is your resume needs to be only one pager. It should not exceed beyond that. ठीक है. Marine, um, maybe Sabina can give you my email address and we can talk about this. Maybe I can have a look at your LinkedIn and let you know मसला हो कि आपको कोई कोई में आपकी बात आ रही है. ठीक है. So, ठीक है. These two are the examples that I've given you of a CV, sorry, a resume. I'm not teaching you a CV because CV जो है वो बहुत लंबा जाता है. वो मेरे और डॉक्टर अदील और सबीना जैसे लोगों के लिए बनेगा. People who have multiple degrees, who have more than 10 years of work experience, who have done plenty of projects and all of those things and paper publications. तो हम जैसे लोगों के लिए सीवी बनेगा, क्योंकि हमारा एक एक पूरा एक पोर्टफोलियो होता है जो हम लोगों को भेजना होता है. But if you're generally applying for a job search or something, I'll still send a resume. I'm not going to send a CV until unless an organization wants to dwell into my achievements a little further. ठीक है. But if I just want to switch right now to another institution, I'll send them my resume. ये लो one pager, ये मैंने काम किया है. Current मेरा ये degree progress है, and we'll move on from there. ठीक है. Uh, can we move on, please? Next, please. Uh, this is a cover letter, a cover email, what do you call it? बस ये कवर जाना है आपके रेज्यूमे के साथ. ठीक है. इसके बगैर आपकी बात इनकम्प्लीट होती है. अब now people ask कि why do I need to send a cover letter? It's very simple. You talk about those things that is not there in your CV or in your resume. These talks about two or three of your major professional capabilities and abilities that you want to highlight to the organization. ठीक. And please notice यहाँ पे मैंने bullet ये जो मैंने उठाया, obviously I picked it up from online. Why should I lie about that? But what you notice over here, it's bullet points and how they've used words, professional words, keywords to highlight their skills and capabilities. Cover letter में हमारी basically major achievement होती है. For example, if I want to send a cover letter, and if I want to go back into O levels teaching that I was doing about 8 years ago, तो मैं वहाँ पे अपना CGPA को जो mention करूंगी, when I was teaching certain subjects, मेरी overall pass percentage या the grade percentage of my students कितना था, and I alhamdulillah maintained a certain CGPA that my student had progress. अगर मुझे intermediate teaching की तरफ दोबारा जाना है, so when I was teaching BCom या BA के students, उस वक्त मेरा pass percentage क्या थी, I'll highlight that. What other work I did, I'm going to highlight all of those things. So, your cover letter basically talks about your three, that's what I went, this is the activity that we do. Think of three professional capabilities of yours that you want the other person to know, you want the organization to know, and then build your CV around that, build your, I'm so sorry, build your cover letter around that. ठीक है. तीन एबिलिटीज बहुत जरूरी हैं, और ये तीन एबिलिटीज बाय द वे आप जेडी से भी उठा सकते हैं. अगर कोई यू नो हर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की जॉब रिक्वायरमेंट होती है जिसको जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन कहते हैं. You use that JD, you use those words, and then you build your cover letter. Rida, want to say something because I just noticed you unmuted yourself. अच्छा, गलती से हो गया होगा. Uh, uh, Sabina, can we move on? All right. Now we come to probably the most nervous process of business communication. आपने सीवी बना दिया, आपने कवर लेटर बना दिया, आपने भेज दिया, आपको क्या कहते हैं, आपको आ गई एक इंटरव्यू की कॉल. सबीना, कैन यू प्लीज म्यूट रिदा बिकॉज आई थिंक शी अनम्यूटेड herself by mistake. All right. So interview skill के लिए, this little picture that I've put over here, that is the summary of everything. The first and foremost thing is do your background check. Do your background check. Please, before you go to any organization, there are wonderful pages where you can actually find out about the cost, the salary scale, silver lining. वहाँ पे लोग डिस्कशन करते हैं, देन यू कैन एक्चुअली फाइंड आउट कि हर स्कूल या कॉलेज या यूनिवर्सिटी का एक पे ग्रेड क्या चल रहा है. somehow some way response to it, या तो आपको अलग से जवाब मिल जाएगा, आपको जवाब जरूर मिलेगा. ये बैकग्राउंड इन्फॉर्मेशन चेक करना बहुत जरूरी है. वाई? बिकॉज इवन फॉर इंस्टेंस यू वांट टू शिफ्ट फ्रॉम टीचिंग, यू वांट टू गो इनटू सम अदर फील्ड, आप किसी कंपनी में भी जा रहे हो, आपको पता होना चाहिए कि वहाँ पे क्या क्या सैलरी स्केल है, वहाँ वो कंपनी और क्या काम करती है. Because these are the kind of questions that the other person may ask. Then they can to ask, वहां पे आप टीचर से पूछिए जी माहौल किस तरह है. When you do this a little background research or you study or you check, what helps is कि you're well prepared to deal with them. You're well prepared to deal with their whatever they're going to throw at you. Especially अगर आपसे salary की बात आती है, classes की बात आती है, timings की बात आती है. If someone wants to be a part-time teacher, once you know how to handle, once you know the mahal, once you know the person who's going to be asking you these questions, it becomes easier to answer, and it becomes, the process becomes very easy, less jittery, I would say. And then obviously once you're there, you're sitting in front of the person, confidence is the key. प्लीज, हाँ, उससे पहले पंक्चुअलिटी. ट्राई एंड बी. अगर आपका 12 बजे का टाइम है तो वी जस्ट बिन थ्रू इट, पीपल डिडंट टर्न अप एट 12, दे टर्न अप एट वो जी ट्रैफिक था, ये था, वो था. कीपिंग ऑल ऑफ दोस थिंग्स इन माइंड, इफ यू वी नो द डिस्टेंस, वी यूज करीम. करीम आपको बता देता है आपको कितने मिनट लगेंगे एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाने में. टाइम योर सेल्फ प्लीज, ऑलवेज टाइम योर सेल्फ एंड रीच अ प्लेस वेल बिफोर टाइम. वाई? बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली ये चीजें भी काउंट होती हैं. अगर आप अभी टार्डीनेस दिखाएंगे, देन व्हाट गुड आर यू लेटर ऑन. वो कहेगा अच्छा तो इसने तो कभी भी काम टाइम पे नहीं करना, वो एक लेबल लग जाता है. यस, वी आई सैट इन थ्रू दीज प्रोसेसेस, सो आई नो कि लोग वहां पे क्या बोलते हैं. So being punctual is very important, and being there 15 minutes before time, it's not going to, you know, it's not going to hamper you, but it's going to add value to you as a person. Salary scale must be known, otherwise sometimes the candidate demands a salary which is not market competitive, and the organization becomes happy that we asked for low salary. हाँ, आपको अपनी मार्केट वैल्यू भी पता होनी चाहिए, मगर आपको ये भी पता होना चाहिए कि आप जिस स्कूल में जा रहे हैं क्या वो इतने पैसे देता है नहीं देता. I'm not going to name names, but there are certain very big schools जो नहीं देते मार्केट कंपेरेटिव सैलरी, इवन कंसिडरिंग द इन्फ्लेशन. वो अभी भी आपको अपने वही पुराने पे स्केल पे रखते हैं. एंड देयर आर सो मेनी पीपल हु आर विलिंग टू गो फॉर दैट, सो दैट इज आल्सो अ प्रॉब्लम ओवर देयर. सो आपको उस स्कूल, जिस भी स्कूल में जा रहे हैं, जिस भी लोकेशन में वो स्कूल है, know the know the average salary that they offer. अगर उससे 10-15% आप ऊपर मांगते हो, ये एक एक एचआर के बंदे ने मुझे एक रूल बताया था कि जो आप करंट ले रहे हो उससे एटलीस्ट आप 50% ऊपर तो आप मांगना. अब आपका हक है इन्फ्लेशन को सामने रखते हुए. A lot of people, by the way, now say 100%, but I'm like, okay, that's playing with fire. But you know इतना एक आपका एक एस्टिमेट परसेंटेज होता है. Yeah, nobody likes to wait, especially people who have to take your interview. I hate waiting. And yes, I'm not going to lie, recently I have walked out of an interview क्योंकि वो बंदा टाइम पे नहीं आया था. And I'm like, मैं तो नहीं बैठ रही, मैं जो के पैनल में थी, and I had other things to do, so I actually walked out. So I have done that. I'm one of those people who get very irritated if the person doesn't turn up on time. So punctuality to me, it's like a pet peeve. Always think before you talk, and when you're talking, be absolutely clear, calm, and be cohesive. Cohesive का मतलब ये है कि आप अपने answers को logically organize रखें. Staple questions आपसे हमेशा पूछे जाएंगे. Tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us a bit about your teaching. So who are you? ये 3 सवाल है जिनको टेढ़ा मेढ़ा करके आपसे किसी न किसी तरीके से पूछा जाएगा. So we can already practice these things, right? मुझसे हमेशा पूछा जाता है जो, so tell us what's not there in the CV and the cover letter. I was like, okay, then I tell them about my personality, but positive only, never negative. Never talk about negative aspects of your personality, please. I cannot emphasize that so much because I've recently, again, recently कुछ interview processes से आई हूँ. So I have heard people talk about, oh, I'm a very lazy person. I like to procrastinate. And, our eyes are popping out. Like, if you're lazy and if you're going to procrastinate, yeah, we don't need you. Right? So ये भी एक मसला हम लोगों ने देखा है कि people just, they forget where they are. They become so comfortable that they start talking about their personality negatives, and that's a complete no. Do not be negative about yourself. um, there's a difference between being confident and being arrogant and cocky. So we are going to be confident where we are humble at the same time. Take, do listen, and when you're exiting, always leave it. It was so nice meeting you. Thank you so much. Yes, Shabaz, don't ever be straightforward, but sometimes one has to be. अगर सामने से बदतमीजी आ रही हो तो maybe. Um, so yes, and always leave with a, thank you so much for calling. Thank you for your time. It was lovely meeting you. इस तरह करके आप उठेंगे तो सामने वाले को रहेगा यार कितना पोलाइट बंदा था, right? As my father said, and it's something that I've lived by, is कि दरवाजे में पाँव अटकाने की बात है. अब वो चाहे आपकी सब्जेक्ट मैटर की नॉलेज से हो, चाहे आपकी पर्सनालिटी से हो, या चाहे द वे यू एंडेड इट एंड यू वॉकड आउट, इन चीजों से आप मेमोरेबल तो रहेंगे ना. और मे बी इट्स समथिंग दैट यू वर्क. वी हैड दिस वन पर्टिकुलर lady who turned up in all reds. And when I say red, top to bottom, it was red. Red clip, red eyeshadow, red lipstick, red dress, red shoes, red socks. Yes, Sabina, exactly. तो वो भी मेमोरेबल है मेरे लिए. आई डोंट रिमेम्बर हर नेम, बट यस आई रिमेम्बर द रेडनेस. सो आपको कहीं ना कहीं तो मेमोरेबल रहना है. And communication, politeness, gratitude, all of these things that may help you to come back, or they may call you back, or you may stick around somehow, some way, maybe because of your CV, right? So ये वाली चीजें आती हैं. All right, Sabina, can we please move on? Isn't that so? Marine, it depends. I Politeness comes with assertiveness, right? इट्स नॉट कि हम बिक जाते हैं. आपको वीकनेस उस वक्त ली जाएगी जब आप एक यस मैन बन जाएंगे. हाँ श्योर, हाँ नो प्रॉब्लम, अच्छा ठीक है, ओके. ये वीकनेस बनती है. बट यू आर बीइंग पोलाइट, अस्सलाम वालेकुम, आई एम सो सॉरी बट आई वोंट बी एबल टू डू दैट. पोलाइटली यू कैन रिफ्यूज द अदर पर्सन, ठीक है. बट इफ यू बिकम अ यस मैन और अ यस पर्सन, then it becomes a weakness. When we want to really please the other person, तो हम yes yes करते रहते हैं कि यार बस मैं अच्छा बन जाऊं. तो उसमें मसला आ जाता है. But being polite and politely handling things, uh, it doesn't become a weakness. And that just leads me to the new topic, which is tact. um, Back in university, this is something that I learned. Tactfulness, tact क्या होता है. And a senior of mine, she was doing her masters in this. वो अपनी research इसके ऊपर कर रही थी. I don't know if people remember Hard Talk, BBC का एक show आता था. And if अभी भी आता है by the way, और उस host को अभी आप देखें तो उसका tact is next level. That guy is, he handles people without offending them. The way he asks questions is brilliant. Yeah, no, yes, Saima Danish, you're absolutely right. Which is also, by the way, tact. Be polite, but learn to say no in a polite manner without offending the other person. Right? Pleasing में नहीं आता वो. You're not pleasing them. You're not, obviously आप bitch नहीं जा रहे. But आप अपना decorum maintain करते हुए सामने वाले बंदे को आप handle कर रहे हैं. So it's the ability to say the right thing without making anyone unhappy or angry. So for me, I use tact in a humorous way. I'm happy, or I make a little jest, and then I say things as politely as possible with a big smile on my face. And yes, it works. Yes, it works. For me, it has worked. Be it my students, be it my colleagues, yes, it works. So yes, ये tactfulness आती है, and tactfulness is part of politeness. It is being polite, it is being kind, but maintaining your boundaries. वो जो boundary की बात आती है, जो मेरीन अभी बात कर रही थी कि एक friendly होता है और एक maintaining a boundary होता है. Being teachers and business communication, tact is what we need. But can we really be polite with everyone? At times, ignorance is also an option. That depends what people say, Dr. Adil. कुछ लोगों की बातों को obviously आप ignore करके you have to walk away. But there are and not every comment deserves an answer. So yes, ये है आजकल. बाय द वे हमारी पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट टीम भी तो यही कर रही है. देयर आर a billion and one comments that are going online. आपको वहां से कोई कुछ नहीं आ रहा. they're not saying anything, they're not doing anything, वो आपको even Instagram पे भी कहीं नहीं नजर आ रहे हैं, वो भी tactfully खेल रहे हैं, right? So yes, ignorance is a bliss, and one has to keep their mental health also in check. तो ये यहाँ पे ये वही सारा टैक्ट की तरफ आता है ना. Do you think empathy plays a role too? Marine, empathy is being part of being kind and polite. So if you're not empathetic to the other person, especially if you are a head, if you are someone at a senior position, and if you're not empathetic, then obviously that's where the issues arise. I left, I'm going to be very honest, I left all my teaching jobs in schools was because I did not have an empathetic leader, let's put it this way. और उस वजह से मुझसे obviously काम नहीं किया जाता. You can't work that way. My leaders can be tactful. My leaders can politely or tactfully, without offending me, my profession or who I am, and then can ask me for work, and maybe I will obviously go above and beyond. But I've noticed that the leaders were not of those sort. Not that I'm blaming anyone, मुझे उससे सीखने को मिला, and again, everything for me has been a learning opportunity. Oh, thank you, Dr. Adeel. I'm going to screenshot this and post it somewhere. By the way, Dr. Adeel is a colleague of mine back in SZABIST, so that's why he's being extremely kind. All right. Uh, tact से related कोई सवाल? Any question related to tact, tactfulness? And yes, you guys need to practice it. आपको ये practice से आएगा. And I've had a very long practice with this, probably about like a 10, 12-year practice. Um, yes, absolutely. He is being very tactful. And maybe he's being honest, Marine. Right? So, any question regarding that? We can move on. And because I think I just have 15 minutes. Sabina, can we please move on? I'm so sorry. Screen. Okay, there we go. Tactful comments that you can use. Uh, communication that use I statements to convey thoughts and feelings clearly. However, I've also noticed some people are using I feel this way in a very wrong way. यानी वो सामने वाले को मद्देनजर रखते हुए नहीं, वो अपनी अपनी फीलिंग्स का कुछ ज्यादा ही इजहार करते हैं. सो दैट इज समथिंग, आई फाउंड दिस ऑनलाइन, पर एक रिसर्च पेपर से मैंने ये स्टेटमेंट उठाया था. But that's something I usually ask people ki don't use I feel very strongly or with a lot of emphasis. I think करके अगर आप अपनी बात शुरू करें, या in my opinion, and I recently heard a corporate banker saying in my humble opinion. So वहां से obviously एक sarcasm की टोन आती है, मगर आपको उनकी बात सुनने का फिर दिल करता है कि it's like an icebreaker. Be extremely clear, be concise. यहाँ पे आपका purpose clear होना चाहिए. What you're about to say, active listening, positive language, always be positive. Uh, Positive language की पूरी एक vocabulary है जिसके ऊपर again we can have an entire session on what positive language is and talk about that. Being respectful and empathetic. मेहरीन, यहाँ पे आपकी बात आ रही है कि ये बहुत दो चीजें बहुत जरूरी है. Empathy is extremely when we're about to even give someone a bad news, by the way. उनको अगर हम लोगों ने ये बताना होता है कि they've not done well in their they failed, or they're not really good students, या if I have to tell a colleague जिसकी मुझे observation करनी थी कि उसने कोई mistake की हुई वहाँ पे. So obviously I can't just blurt it to her. I can't just tell her कि oh my god, that was terrible. Oh, you're a horrible student, तुम कभी भी पास नहीं होगे. हाँ, मेरा ऐसा ख्याल है. हाँ, दैट्स ऑल्सो ऑब्वियसली उर्दू, इन माई हम्बल ओपिनियन टू, और उर्दू में मेरा ऐसा ख्याल है, वो सही है. सो स्टूडेंट्स को अगर हम लोगों ने कोई बैड न्यूज देनी होती है तो हम उनके साथ एम्पैथी से काम लेते हैं. बेटा, आई नो यू रियली वर्क वेरी हार्ड, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली मे बी तुम मुझसे ये मार्क्स नहीं ले पाए. जैसे आई एम अ यूनिवर्सिटी टीचर, सो आई हैव स्टूडेंट्स हु ऑलवेज कम अप के मिस आपने मुझे ये मार्क्स क्यों दिए. वेयर आई ऑलवेज करेक्ट देम, बेटा आप, मैंने आपको ये मार्क्स नहीं दिए, आपने मुझसे ये मार्क्स लिए. So, one has to use language with students the way they come up to you. And empathetic telling things this way. This is a very, I think, doesn't go well with boss. I've learned to be tactful. I now say your opinion or suggestion is amazing, but what if we work like this? अच्छा, Zainab, यहाँ पे मसला ये आता है, there are certain bosses who do not want to be told what to do. Um, So that's where a problem arises. So आप उन बॉस की हाँ में हाँ मिलाते हुए आधा उनका काम करें फिर आधा अपना काम कर लें, but you let them know what you've done. Um, some employees use humor in a way to give messages indirectly to be careful or to improve oneself, like a hidden meaning in a joke. Huh, some people do that. Uh, One needs to also be wary of the kind of humor that you use, by the way, Dr. Adil. We and us isn't better rather than I. Alia, it depends on the situation because ये आपकी बात मुझे थोड़ी क्लियर नहीं है. टैक्टफुलनेस में ये होता है कि मैं अपना ओपिनियन दे रही हूँ, ठीक है. सो आई एग्री विद यू, बट हाउएवर इस तरह करके अगर हम बात करें तो वो भी टैक्टफुलनेस में ही आता है. बीना, कैन वी मूव ऑन प्लीज? ओके, माय फेवरेट थिंग, सेवन सीज ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन. यहाँ पे आप में से बहुत सारे लोगों की बातों का मैं यहाँ पे जवाब दे दूंगी. सेवन सीज ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन इज हाउ आई स्टार्ट मोस्ट ऑफ माई क्लासेस. ओरल कम्युनिकेशन की क्लास हो गई या बिजनेस कम्युनिकेशन की क्लास हो गई, दिस व्हाट आई टेल माई स्टूडेंट्स, ये मेरा मार्किंग क्राइटेरिया है. This is how I'm going to mark you. This is how one, how effective communication comes into play. A person should be tactful. It is the need of the time. Yes, because we can't always hurt people. Maria Panchwani, people are hurting each other already too much. So one has to be a little careful about that. Humor is very important. uh, Simon Danish, if you ever come into my classes, I'm a sarcastic teacher. I use sarcastic humor. However, my students love it, so that's why I carry on. It's been 8 years I've been using it. But humor is a way. Yes, you can crack a little small joke. जैसे मैंने अभी पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट टीम का दे दिया. तो रेलेवेंट जो आजकल करंटली हो रहा है जिसका हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को या लोगों को, आम लोगों को पता है, यूजिंग दैट एज ए ह्यूमर, इट्स अमेजिंग. व्हाट वन शुड नेवर यूज इज पॉलिटिक्स एज ह्यूमर. प्लीज कभी भी पॉलिटिक्स की बात मत कीजिएगा, बहुत chaotic सीन हो जाएगा. All right. So, seven C's of communication. The first and foremost is clarity. Clarity is two things: clarity of language and clarity of purpose. A, अगर आप लिख रहे हैं, so you need to be very clear with the language, the words, the paragraphing, the grammar, and stating the purpose right in the beginning. कवर लेटर की बात आती है तो पहले पैराग्राफ के अंदर ही हम क्लियरली बता देते हैं कि आपको इस नौकरी का कहाँ से पता चला. किसी ने अगर रेफर किया और उसने कहा कि मेरा रेफरेंस दे दो, उसका नाम आपने दिया और आप किस पोजीशन के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हैं. ये क्लैरिटी ऑफ पर्पस हो गया, एंड देन क्लैरिटी ऑफ लैंग्वेज हो गया. सो सेवन सीज ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन, फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट रूल: clarity of purpose and language, be it speaking, be it writing, be it your body language, be it the pictures. अभी मेरी यहाँ पे obviously coming to pictures, यहाँ पे मेरी clarity तो fail होगी because I didn't use clear pictures. I should have, however I didn't. That's my mistake. मगर when you use language or when you use any medium of communication, that needs to be very clear, and especially your purpose has to be clear. देन कम्स कंप्लीटनेस. जितना पूछा जाए उतना जवाब दीजिए, मगर कंप्लीट जवाब दीजिए, राइट. सो अ स्टूडेंट, अ कॉलीग और अ प्रोस्पेक्टिव एम्प्लॉय में आस्क यू अ क्वेश्चन, यू कांट जस्ट लीव इट, हाँ ठीक है जी, करके आप वहां पे अपनी कहानी खत्म कर दें. पीपल वुड वांट टू हैव अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ मोर इन्फॉर्मेशन, राइट. इसलिए आपकी सीवीज और आपके कवर लेटर के अंदर हम जो चीज हम सीवी में नहीं डाल सकते वो फिर हम कवर लेटर के अंदर डाल देते हैं, विच इज योर स्किल्स एंड कैपेबिलिटीज दैट इज मिसिंग, राइट. सो वो चीज बहुत जरूरी होती है. ना, अब्रप्ट आंसर्स नेवर गुड, इनकम्प्लीट आंसर्स नेवर गुड. स्टूडेंट्स अगर आपको एक वर्ड का जवाब देते हैं, आप कहते हैं हाँ बेटा आगे, और उनको इंकरेज करते हैं ना कि आगे बोलो, व्हाट एल्स कैन वी ऐड टू इट, वो चीज कंप्लीटनेस में आती है. कंसाइसनेस बिजनेस कम्युनिकेशन के अंदर, अब वो यहाँ पे लोग कहेंगे कि मिस इजंट दिस अ डिफरेंस. कंसाइसनेस इज बहुत लंबी बात ना कीजिए. If you over exaggerate something, people will lose interest. बिजनेस कम्युनिकेशन में इसलिए आपका रेज्यूमे एक पेज का बनता है, आपका कवर लेटर एक पेज से कम का बनता है. क्यों बनता है? बिकॉज अगेन नो वन हैज द टाइम और द एनर्जी टू गो थ्रू द ऑल द पेपर्स एंड पेजेस एंड व्हाट नॉट. सो कंसाइसनेस वहां पे इस तरह आती है. इफ यू वांट टू पास अ कमेंट और whether it's a praise or a bad news something, हम स्कूल टीचर जो थे, when I was teaching in a school, it always used to be one liner or one and a half line, ताकि आगे कुछ और ना चीज क्रिएट की जाए. um, इफ नॉट कंसाइज, हाँ वो ओवर एंड ओवर होता है तो आप भी बोर हो जाते हैं ना कि अच्छा यार ये बात रिपीट क्यों इतना कर रही है. Concreteness, it means you talk with evidence, you talk with proof. You can't pass a comment without having the relevant data, example, achievement behind you. So, I have students who say, Miss, I'm a very hardworking student. Beta, kya sabut hai iska? That's my immediate response. Hardworking will be proven over time. What else? What other qualities are you going to talk about? If you're a great teacher, add your pass percentage, add your CGPA, add your results. क्या आपके कितने बच्चे कितने grades लेके आए, right? If you're going to say you're a great researcher, how many papers have you published? If you're going to say, you've been teaching up for a very long time, how many years? ये proof होता है. बगैर proof के आपकी बात, as we always say, it's null and void. So to make your things complete, you have to give proof to it. So it's undeniable. Correctness, whatever information that you provide, it's correct. Time, uh, Bina, I'm just going to rush through it. All right. Certificates and result in case of teachers, yes, you can add those in your thing. Correctness, whatever information that you provide, it is correct. It's not false. क्योंकि अगर आपने कोई भी चीज अपने सीवी या कवर लेटर में डाली और वो गलत हुई, या it's a false information, you will be caught. Consideration, I'm so sorry, I'm missing that. Yes, it's consideration. That basically means that you are wary of, or you are respectful of where the other person is coming from. Social, economical, religious, ethnical, cultural background. In सबका आपको ख्याल रखना है. And courtesy is obviously politeness. We just talked about it. Being polite is 90% of your communication. Meena, can we move on to the last slide? I hope. I'm so sorry for taking the extra time. नो बायसनेस. नो, किसी भी किस्म की बायसनेस वो आपको कंसिडरेशन में आती है. 7 C's के अंदर ये दो चीजों का लेटेस्ट एडिशन हुआ है अकॉर्डिंग टू ऑस्ट्रेलियन यूनिवर्सिटीज. दे सेड दीज टू थिंग्स विथ द एआई टेक्नोलॉजी इज प्रीटी इंपॉर्टेंट. क्रिएटिविटी एंड क्रेडिबिलिटी. क्रिएटिविटी ये कि ऑब्वियसली वो आपका अपना काम है. थैंक्स टू चैट जीपीटी हमारी क्रिएटिविटी ऑसम हो गई है, मगर अब वो पकड़ी जाती है बिकॉज पीपल कांट obviously repeat it over and over again if you put them in front of yourself. So creativity is using your own brain and providing whatever you want by yourself. And then credibility, you always give credit to the sources from where you've taken the information from. ठीक? So ये 7 + 2 is 9 C's of communication that becomes your marking criteria and something that becomes very important when you want to have an effective communication. Last slide, and I think we're done. Just in time. Yeah. Now we're open to questions.
Yes. Is there anyone who would like to ask questions?
Tina, आप PPT अब बंद कर दो. You can stop sharing the screen.
Stop
Thank you.
sharing? All right.
Yeah. We're done.
Okay. So that was really an amazing presentation, Miss Tahira, and I loved it. I loved it.
Thank you so much. I love being here.
Yes, anyone who wants to ask questions, just 2 questions, because then we have to move to Miss Farah's presentation also.
Yeah.
So there's lots of praises and appreciation coming for you, Miss Tahira.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful job.
I finally opened my video. Now people can see me as well. Okay, I don't think so. We're having any questions. If I have permission, may I leave?
Okay,
Oh yeah, please, Alia,
it's Miss
go for your
Alia
namaz.
for your prayers. Because I think you answered most of the questions when the presentation was going on. That is why
I think Zoom is brilliant. The fact that you can have these questions, you can read them. वो सारी अलग-अलग window खुल जाती है. So that made it very easy for me to answer these questions. So thank you everyone for your time. I think Beena, you should move on. Yeah, this tool is awesome as compared to Google Classroom.
Actually,
And if there's any other question, Sabina can totally share my email with you guys, and then we can take it from there.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you so much. Yes, Miss Mehreen has a question.
Marine has a question.
Yes, Miss Mehreen.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, ma'am, I wanted to ask you, like, I am getting back on this employment train after a very long time. So maybe I am lagging a bit behind because during COVID years, now most communication was online. So what I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give a person like me, like who has been doing online jobs? Like I am a graphic and designer and a content writer. So most of
Huh.
these jobs are online, right? But
Hmm.
I have done like several now courses of even teaching now, and I volunteer at some NGOs and all that. But if I want to seek a job as a teacher, so what advice are
Hmm.
you going to give me? How do I shift like my focus from that online like thing to in like going in person somewhere?
I would actually suggest that why don't you start as a volunteer somewhere
Yes, I do
for a
volunteer. I
month
volunteer at an orphanage. No,
at a
I volunteer
school,
at an
at a school,
orphanage. Yeah,
at
it
a
is
school
like it
better.
is a small like orphanage where I go and teach maths and English to girls there. But I will take an advice. Okay, I'll go to a school and apply there probably as a volunteer.
Huh.
I can try
That
that.
should for Savina, I would really appreciate it if you just send her my email address.
Email
You know,
address.
it requires a longer answer, beta. It requires a very longer
Miss
answer.
Tyra, just share your email address on my WhatsApp, so I will share it with them because many of
Sure,
them
sure, sure.
are for it.
Yeah, sure.
And I
I'll
would
just send it to
also
you.
like to thank you because like I learned a lot today and it was a very informative sentence. Like I'm sorry if I've offended you with some of my comments or like that. But
No, no,
yeah,
no,
I
no, no,
really
no.
enjoyed it.
It's okay.
I really enjoyed it.
I know.
I really
And
enjoyed
Dr.
it.
Adeel, by the way, just gave you a very good advice. I think you should start with practice. So
Sure.
I'll share my email address with Sabina. I know she has another session, so we'll end it here. And inshallah, if
Thank
more
you
help
so
is
much,
required and more
Tyra.
workshop is required, we'll do it again.
Really an
Okay.
awesome job. Awesome job. That is why, see, they are demanding your email address. And
I
thank
know.
you so much, audience, for your wonderful participation. I know you enjoyed a lot through Zoom. Previously, I had exposed them to that wave video through YouTube. So
No, no, no.
I kept them
That was bad.
so here also I kept them busy. So anyway,
Yes.
thank you, Miss Tyra. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you so much. All right. God bless you. God bless everyone. See you soon, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.
take good care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.